So today's Father's Day. I have a little bit of time to play games, and so it's been 2 days since I played War Thunder. And let's see, 2 days ago I was flying the BF-109 E4s. Um, I wanted something a little bit different today. I hadn't flown the RE 2005 in a while, and I realized that ever since it was nerfed, I haven't been flying it. Um, the nerfing kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and you know, I'm sitting here and I'm talking in a Facebook War Thunder group with someone uh, who initially was talking about his frustrations in flying out the the P51H. Um, and we're going to go on a tangent talk here, but I need to fill in a void and I don't stream often. So here we go. And we'll talk about this particular match in a minute. In fact, before I do anything, let me screenshot this. It's not a clean match here. I did end up losing a plane. But anyways, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the P51H because it's going to segue into the RE 2005. So initially, he was saying that he was having issues flying the P51H. For one, he didn't have it spaded, and usually high BR prop planes, especially fighters, uh, they give you a significant grind. The effort is real, and I really don't like grinding out high BR props. Um, Prior to me going RB only, what I was doing was spading the planes in AB because I felt that it was easier. I guess the pace of grinding was quicker in AB. Um, as soon as I started playing RB exclusively, I realized that wasn't the case. If you have a good string of games and you follow the objectives and you have a decent plane and you do your part by side climbing, if especially if the plane isn't a good climber, you do your part in aiming, you do your part in defensive flying. Uh, you could string together, I guess, some kills and win the match. You get a significant bump in RP, which gives you more RP to modify a stock plane. So, so when I said that, I looked at the RP in this game and I'm like, damn, that's kind of low. But it's because we lost. Um, so we didn't get that extra 67% and 120% of silver lines and RP for this match. That's why it's kind of low. But even so, if you think about it, that's not bad, especially for a plane that doesn't have a talisman. Um, so, anyways, I took out the P51H in just a test flight and was kind of trying to assess how well it climbed. And keep in mind, my P51H is pretty much it's all stock. Um, so I took off. Um, I kept kind of low, building up speed, and in the test flights, you're usually not given, especially in the P50H, you spawn at in the Pearl Harbor map, and there are no enemy planes for you to shoot down, but there are friendly bot planes that you can shoot down, and that's what I did. What I did was I tried to play a positioning game with them, knowing that where they were headed, and I was trying to close in with them and maximize my energy potential. It climbs well, even stock. Um, and there's a couple of things. I started booming and zooming on those friendly planes. Um, the guns take a little bit of getting used to, and keep in mind I'm using default belts. There's probably better belts to use in the P51H. Um, Things I kind of noticed really quick, and that match was maybe that test run was maybe just a 10-minute match. That thing picks up speed like very quickly, and that's with a stock plane. as well. When I was diving, I still had full control. Um, I was extending before zooming back up. Um, it's a very good energy fighter. And on top of that, I started playing around after I killed the two friendly planes. I started kind of taking it up as high as I could, stalling out, testing the flaps, and the flaps work really well. It's very maneuverable plane, even when it's kind of slow. But then I boomed down and was like at what, probably 600 kph, and decided, okay, well, let's test the flaps. Uh, so I was going to test the flaps and try not to rip them. You know, I guess my plan was to extend the flaps, and if there was a warning, immediately pull them back in. Surprisingly, I saw no flap warning at 600 kph. So I don't know exactly where they rip off, but that's pretty significant because I popped the flaps, and of course, when you do that, you immediately started bleeding a ton of energy. And so, for emergency purposes, you can pop those flaps when you're really fast to kind of, I guess, making an immediate turn, keeping in mind that you're going to bleed some speed. So you might be able to get away with doing that once or twice, and then extending away. Um, but I mean, if you need to dogfight and try and break off, you do that. But no extended turn, fighting and things like that. That's probably not the best way to be using that plane. But anyways, so I went back into that Facebook thread for that War Thunder group, and kind of made some comments, telling, people, okay, well, I had initially said that, well, I don't really like BR 6.3 matches or high level prop matches because the grind is very difficult. Um, and then you might face jets, and I usually don't like any of that. Uh, but what happened was that the RE 2005 came off. It was, I guess, released as a plane, and I started flying that, and I saw how good it was, and that's when I started flying the BR 6.3 matches, and I got a shitload of kills with that plane, low amount of deaths, and I believe I'm something like 5.1 KDR or some shit like that. Um, and then, I mean, a lot of people were saying that it's cancer, and I don't like that word because I know folks who die from cancer, um, and so I'm kind of sensitive to that. You're gonna say you don't like it, just say it. Um, but to give it kind of a word that's kind of synonymous with something that's killing a lot of people in the world, I don't know. But anyways, I loved that plane, and I started flying it, and I flew it a lot. Um, and then I got kind of upset because they started mucking around with the BR because you know, people always kind of, if a pilot, a veteran pilot, starts using a very good plane and he's getting an extreme amount of kills in it, not because the plane is overpowered, but because the pilot is good and he's using a good plane, that's a match made in heaven right there, right? So you get a lot of veterans who kind of gravitate toward a good plane. And it's not just with the RE 2005. It's with I saw it with the G55s when they first came out. I saw it with the Key 100s when they first came out. The TA 152s, especially the H. Um, and a lot of people, they don't like the fact that they get their ass handed to them. And it's not because the plane is overpowered. It's usually because, one, they put themselves in a bad position. I say this shit every time I stream. I say altitude is life. If you're not climbing or side climbing, even if you're in a good plane, then you're not helping your team out. You're not helping yourself. You're not doing yourself any favors. But people, they do that shit all the time, and I've seen it for the last 3 or 4 years where people kind of, a new plane comes out, and the first thing they say is, well, it's not balanced right because I get killed by it all the time. But they don't really kind of look at the fact that, okay, well, were you doing the right things? You know, were you flying and get this thing right? And a lot of times it comes down to, if that plane has never been flown in the game before, yes, it might need to be tuned a bit, by the developers, but it, the immediate response should not be, well, it's OP, because how do you know it's OP when half the time people aren't fighting it correctly? You're sitting there, you're trying to outturn a turn fighter in a plane that's not designed to turn fight, things like that. So you know again, I see it all the time with new planes, and it's usually because most people don't understand the plane and how they're supposed to be fighting it. And usually what happens is there's a things start balancing out. So with the key 100, the developers intervene before things can balance out. But with the G55 series planes, I think I started seeing people kind of start noticing, well, it's not good in the vertical. It bleeds a lot of speed. Um, and another thing is it doesn't roll all that well, especially compared to a Spitfire. So you can exploit that in a Spitfire by kind of doing aggressive turns that it's not going to, that I guess the pilot in the G55 isn't going to be able to track all that well. Um, Things like that. So that's a hint that, okay, well, the the player base is starting to adapt to the flight model that was released by the dev team. So, and with the RE 2005, it's like it didn't have a chance to reach that point, um, probably because it really didn't have a lot of like huge weaknesses. Um, but I mean, it was on the same level as Spitz. Um, but a lot of people would say, well, I'm looking at I'm looking at this uh, internet resource, highlighting, okay, I guess the official documents, back in the 40s when this thing was built, and they're saying, well, that's, it's not modeled right, and I'm like, really? I'm sitting here and I'm looking at some of these resources. I'm like, it looks like it's modeled right correctly to me, but the thing is, we never know because we're not actual pilots. We're virtual pilots. So we're sitting here harping on these nuances of uh, taking something that's a paper document that was transcribed onto the internet, that was officially, I guess, originally used back in the 1940s. It's almost 100 years ago. um, and now we're sitting here using those documents trying to pretend that we're pilots and this is the way things should be. It's a damn game, for one, and it's not really a true sim. Even in sim mode, it's not really on the same level as, I guess, IL2 or DCS. So these folks, they sit here and it just kind of grates on my nerves how a bunch of people that don't a bunch of 20-year-olds, no, I hate to kind of use terminology like that, and because it tends to offend, but this is the game. And while there are a lot of people my age playing it, I'm 52 years old. Um, it's predominantly a young player's game. My daughters, who are 19 and 20, um, they know folks who play War Thunder, and majority of those people are their age. You know, so I know it's a game, and game developers of this genre of game, they want people to use the product, and in order to use to get them to use the product, they don't want to piss off the player base. And if the player base is always bitching about it's OP, they kind of cater to the player base that kind of whines the most. That's my opinion. So that's why we always see these, like, people, I guess, these changes, these BR changes. In my opinion, there shouldn't be all that many BR changes if the developers are doing their job. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't. And but apparently when they changed, so they did two things with RE 2005. They initially released it. I thought it was might have been 5.0. That might have been a little bit low for that. I'll agree to that. But what they did was they bumped it up to 6.0. That was way too high. They should have kind of took baby steps and walked it up until it found its niche. But they bumped it up without making flight model changes too. So when I was flying it when they bumped it up, I found that it was still competitive the way it was at 6.0, but I did feel that it really didn't need to be at 6.0 in the first place. It really didn't. Um, if they were going to do something, in my opinion, it probably should have went at 5.7. But then they started mucking around again, and I don't know why, because what they did was they not only changed the BR, but they actually mucked around with the flight model. So it took a drastic hit. In my opinion, it took a drastic hit in climb rate. Um, and I believe it was climbing 20 meters a second or somewhat, somewhat close to that. Um, before they made the firmware changes, or the what do you call it, the flight model changes. Um, so now it's climbing at 16. Let me see. Yeah, 16. To me, that's a huge change. And I know that stat cards aren't supposed to be exact, but they did change it. Um, the reason why you shouldn't always trust the stat cards is because they're not always updated. But when they made that change, this they updated the card. So apparently this is correct. And I even noticed it when I'm playing a game. I noticed it when I played this game, so I had to spend a lot more time side climbing. But as you can see, I still got 6 kills. And now, the plane is at what, BR 5.3. I can't see because of that. There's a Twitch app in the way here. I believe it's 5.3. So this is the first ace in a while. This is the first ace since that I've gotten into planes since they've changed the BR and did the flight model changes. Um, so does this prove that things haven't changed? Not really, because I've had. This isn't the first time I've flown it since then. I must have flown it out maybe 10 times since then. This is the first ace. So it's harder to kind of get those aces, and it's harder to kind of get, in my opinion, it's harder to get kills in. Um, because a lot of times I get waylaid, and when we replay this match here, you're gonna see, and I'll narrate. You're gonna see that there's a spit above me as I get closer to the middle of the map. Um, Prior to that, the FM changes and the BR change, I was never below a spit. I was always, I was never above them either. I was always at the same level. But when we see that first spit, you're gonna see that it's probably 1,000 meters, maybe 15, maybe even 2,000 meters above me, um, which made me change my tactics. I turned away because I didn't want to face a spit with that much of an altitude disadvantage. Uh, so we'll go ahead and let's look at these stats real quick because I haven't even looked at them. The end of mission stats. So yes, we lost the plane because I was trying to make a difference in the match. I got my 6 kills. I was looking for the last player. He never arrived. He was never revealed. And so the ticker was going down, and we were at a advantage concerning the tickets. So I decided to go down, and I started killing ground targets, and then I saw an IL-10, a bot, and I got damaged by the bot when I was trying to shoot him, and I lost a plane. So I don't like matches where I die, because that's what, if I always play like it's a real pilot that's being lost, then that is a more realistic style of playing. I don't want to sit there and just die all the time. That's one, that's not my way of fun, and two, that's not a good way to kind of, if I'm dying all the time on a plane, it's gonna be because I did something stupid, and in this case, I did do something stupid. Um, but anyways, so we got 6 kills. We had a decent raw score. These guys here, I freed. There were 2 ME-264s that I freed up to kind of go after bases, because I cleared the enemy team of fighters. As soon as I killed the last fighter, these guys started hammering the bases, but by then it was kind of too late. We had lost momentum in tickets, uh, but it was a fun match. So I got Hero of the Sky. We got a double strike. Double strike was okay. P-47 and Seafire. That was when I dove down to try and take advantage of the fact that I was above a furball. I was trying to help my teammate out. He ended up losing his plane. Probably to... Let's check that out real quick before I quit. Oh, he lost it to the Spitfire. I saw when he got this kill, but then when he did this, he was down low. He did this, and when he I guess approached this guy, he exposed himself to the P-47 and the Spit. And as you can see, both of those guys made runs on him. Wow, a bunch of people made runs on him. But the thing was, I had a lot of speed. I couldn't really go down there without lawn darting. So I killed this guy, and I was trying to bleed enough speed and position myself to where I wouldn't immediately die or lawn dart. So, but it ended up working out. A lot of these matches, I try to have ace matches, and what happens is things don't play out right. So it's not a person making an ace match happen. Ace matches just happen. There's a lot of luck involved, not just with the killing, but positioning. I wouldn't have been able to get that double kill if both of those guys weren't close and I wasn't in a position to do that. So I kind of made the positioning part happen, but sometimes you get gaijined. You shoot a plane and you do your part, but sometimes because of latency or because of the way the server kind of interprets things, you might not get hits, even though you aimed properly. I know for a fact I know how to aim well enough, and you'll see some of these kills where I don't have a problem taking long shots, and it depends on the plane. Depends on the country. German planes tend to have stronger guns or whatnot, right? But some of this stuff just happens. Can't always kind of force yourself to generate an ace match. But anyways, we'll go ahead and kind of get this kicked off here. And we'll fast forward when we have to. Let's go ahead and minimize these. We'll keep the battle chat open, or the battle log open. Not sure if we need the map. We'll open it up if we need it. Okay, so let's change it to the pilot view. And we'll bring up the map here. So I'm looking at the base here. I was thinking about going this way. Sometimes I go this way, but with the way the map is, it's kind of skewed. Both of the bases are on this side of the map, and so if I fly this way, I could run into enemy planes before I have time to climb. So I'm going this way instead. The idea is to climb up this way and then bend this way while still climbing. And the alternate plan, if I see enemy, is to kind of come back this way while still climbing, or at least level out, depending on how close they render. Speed it up a little bit here. So I call out those planes for folks. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll call them out in the chat so that I can reference them later. And there's that spit. That spit, and I'm like, really? I was climbing I was climbing as aggressive as possible. So maybe I should, I don't know, maybe adjust my climb speed. This isn't really a fast plane to begin with, but this is how this is the speed I normally climb at, in between 230 and 250, and usually pitched up at 20 degrees. And so immediately when I see him, I angle back over and I level out a little bit. I actually bend back toward the base. I have no idea what he's doing, and it looks like he's going to try and merge with that BF-109. So now it's like, okay, well, what do I do? He's kind of close. I know he's not focused on me anymore, and then I look down and I see these two guys. So let's pause this real quick. Initially I was going to dive down here, but then I saw how, his closure rate. I realized if I dove down on this guy to help this guy out, and there's actually two friendly planes down there. The other one, if he was rendered, he's not rendered now. So I decided to focus on him so that I know he's got a lot more energy, and he could catch me out. So focus on him and then him if he's still around. So I'm diving, I'm picking up speed, and I have mech on, so I'm using kind of the open radiators as an air brake because I don't want to get too fast. Noticing this guy might be coming over, and then I noticed that they killed the plane, and I'm trying to figure out where he's going. He's going back. I don't know if he took damage, and I know that he's going to try and strafe this guy. So I'm coming over here to try and catch him, and he sees me. He's a level 100, and that SO 8000 is a good plane, but it is not. It's just a straight up boom and zoomer, and it's a support. You have to use it in the support role as well. So he sees me, and I'm kind of getting behind him. He's trying to juke. He's in trouble, and he knows it. I believe he's gotten one kill. And there you go, finish him off. Good gunnery there. And so now I'm wondering, okay, what next? And I'm trying to get up more altitude here because I'm kind of low. I'm fast, but I can convert some of that speed to altitude. And I'm checking out to see if there's any dots around. Make sure I don't get bounced. I see these two guys. There's no way in hell I'm gonna be able to get mixed up in that yet. They have to come down. So I keep an eye on them because I don't want them to kind of jump me. And so now I'm focusing on maybe that bomber there. Tempest died by my teammate, or my squad mate. Speed it up a little bit. I'm watching how that's playing out over there. There's a dot. and I'm in a perfect spot to make a run on him. It depends on what he does. All right. So if he runs away, then I'm in a bad position. But he must not see me because he cuts under me. I don't know what he's doing, because what he should have done was he should have turned his tail, and that would have got me to back off, because this plane has no armor. So here we are. We're making a run on him. Got a lot of speed. More good gunnery. Converting that speed to altitude. I'm considering going back down because he's not destroyed. I don't want him spotting people, and then he must quit. He must have quit. So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go and help this guy, and then I changed my mind because I'm like, this guy is probably gonna come and make a run and go down there and support him. So my teammates coming to help him. So I was like, okay, well, let me try and position myself and make sure that I have enough energy in case this P-47 comes at me. And I'm glad I did, because that's exactly what he tries to do. He changes up at the last minute, and then both of these guys, I noticed that they're coming this way. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to climb some, and I'm trying to make sure that I have enough speed to start maneuvering if I have to. I noticed that guy's coming as well, and that's when I noticed, okay, well, he's going to try and boom up at me. Let's try and stall him out. He wasn't fool enough to come all the way up. But then he does some pretty good juking. I hold my guns a bit. You know, I didn't spam them. Cause a fire there. And it takes him forever to die. I started to try and go down there and finish him off. But as long as that fire is burning, it's good. It's just as long as he doesn't put it out. But I think he does eventually. So now it's here. I make a run on him again. And now I'm like, I don't know which spit to go for. I focus on him since he was higher. Has more potential energy. Then he starts juking. He should have dove. I waste a lot of ammo on that guy. And by this point, I don't really have a lot. This guy, he's trying to make it back to his base. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he put that fire out. And what I'm trying to do now is dodge him real quick. It's a bot. Notice one of these guys is coming my way. It's that guy. And I'm like, I'm not quite ready yet. The way he's tracking me, he's probably got a decent amount of speed. Even though he's a little bit lower than me. Spits can be dangerous at this BR. So I decide to turn around and track him a bit, because it looks like he might be trying to kill the bombers. Now we're in a ticket deficit as well. So that other spit is going back to base. And I'm trying to figure out what base he went to, because I think that the closest base. Okay, so we got credit for the P-47. This guy here, I'm trying to figure out exactly what he's doing. So I don't know if he's tracking me or he's trying to bait me. Or trying to put me in as good a position as he can with him being at a disadvantage. Because I've done that before and actually killed folks. So I'm being a little bit cautious. I've got a lot of speed and I still have a lot of altitude, so I know that I could kill him, and I know that I'm probably not going to make a mistake. So he does see me, and he does try and cut under me a couple of times. Here it's me more like hurting him because I know he's watching me now, and I'm just waiting and reacting to whatever he does. And he forces a head on. I decide to try and take it. He nicks me a little bit. And what he should have done was he should have dove. He's trying to turn with me in that plane, and that's more of a boom and zoomer. He should have ran. I know he's faster than me, and so there's my ace there. And so now I know that that other spit is over here somewhere. Still not sure what base he went to, so I'm actually headed in that direction. Yep. The idea is to maybe split, or just head in that direction, and maybe his dot will render. So mainly what I did was I picked these guys off one by one, pretty much. Okay, there he is. So he just took off from that base. So I have, yeah. So I have the altitude advantage. I have the energy advantage, but I don't want him just straight up booming at me. So I'm gaining altitude while also trying to merge with him. Because I doubt he knows I'm actually trying to stall him out. He won't realize until he gets up close that I'm higher than I appear to be. Okay. And by now I don't have all that much cannon left. Okay, that was good gunnery. So I got my 6th kill there, and the rest is just me looking at the tickets. And you know, at first I go back over here thinking, okay, well, I'm looking for that B-17. What I should have done was I should have immediately went down and start killing for ground targets, and maybe go back and get more ammo. But there's a lot of still a good bit of time left, and what I'm doing is I'm just trying to spot the B-17 without trying to use like a blind hunt or Avenger. I never did find him. I think he was somewhere over here. I think he must have went AFK. So a new mechanism that I'm seeing that I don't understand yet, and you know, there's probably there's probably folks who are watching this or will watch this that know what it is. But the new mechanic is, if you look at the map, it turns red. And what at this time I was seeing red over here and here. These squares were red, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So now I suspect it means that maybe that's where that bomber was, because it moved. You know, first it was this, then it was this, and then it was this next square, which you see a little piece of there. And then I saw it coming back, like right before I died or right after I died. So I suspect that's where he was. He was AFK, and maybe he was just either climbing, trying to make a run. But the thing is, this guy, he he killed one, so he wasn't making runs on the base. He was trying to maybe kill ground targets, and he dropped a lot of bombs, and I think he landed once to get more bombs. It's either that or he dropped his bombs and then went AFK. But now I suspect he's over here. I'm not even sure I can kind of. Let's see how this works. Yeah, it's not gonna let me because he's not spotted, and he is out of bombs. So I was partially correct. He's out of bombs, and he's probably just someone, his attention's divided. Maybe he's AFK. Whoops. But we don't even have to watch any more of this. I mean, I do make some base runs, but that's it. I mean, not base runs. Runs on AAA. We can go ahead and quit this. So I'll go ahead and keep flying the RE 2005. Effort to get kills have become higher than threshold. So and I've had a few like one-on-one battles with guys in spits during matches where it's him and I left. Um, and by itself, it handles well enough. But because they kind of neutered the climb rate a bit, it doesn't seem like it's as much of an energy fighter as it used to be, especially when mixing it up in one-on-one, close up battles. It still can be positioned very well. It still has some maneuverability. It doesn't quite roll as well as bits. It's like a more powerful G55. I mean, the pattern of the wings are, using elliptical wings just like the Spit, but it doesn't quite fly as well as a Spit in my opinion. Um, but I've certainly killed more Spits than I have than they've killed me. But that's probably more of a pilot thing than a plane thing. So, nah, yeah. Again, I'm not sure if I'm happy with the way they've been tooling around with things, and I hope to God they just leave shit alone. Um, it really doesn't make sense the way they kind of focus on this RE 2005. It would never have ended up that way if they had just kind of, if they do that, if they pay, I guess, a lot of attention or be meticulous with the tooling and the flight model with every single plane in the game or every single vehicle, then we wouldn't. There probably wouldn't be such issues. But I guess my argument is, why such a focus on this plane and not all of them? You know, Gaijin is so inconsistent with the way they do things. You know, the last time I streamed, I was bitching about how, anything with a double wasp engine, you have a finite amount of engine injection. Like Corsairs, P-47s, P-61s. You know, but yet if you look at all the other planes in the U.S. lineup, they have they have engine injection, but they have unlimited injection. And I did some research on it and saw that there's a spreadsheet out there that's shareable, that's shared amongst, I guess, War Thunder players, that kind of maps out all of the different planes uh, that have a engine injection limitation. And some of those tabs in that spreadsheet actually have planes that have unlimited. So it's like you see a lot of them. I'm like, what the hell? I was like, You don't see that with with the BF109s, with the exception of I think the G6s and the G10s. When you start getting up in the BR, you start seeing limits, but the limits are still high, like 30 minutes. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? I was like, that doesn't make sense. You want this? Do you want this game to be semi-realistic or what? If you sit there and you give a neuter to certain U.S. planes, but not, a, make, I guess, those changes consistent across the board, then that's, in my opinion, that's hokey. So I don't know if it's just me, just slowly getting more tired of the game. I think that this game is great. That's the reason I've been flying it for close to 8 years. But maybe I need something else. Now I do have IL2, and I I stopped flying it because I've been focusing on SB, in sim mode, in War Thunder. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time choosing one or the other, and I don't think it's in my best interest to kind of be flying them both at the same time, because if I split my time between the two and I'm trying to learn IL2, then sometimes I get the two, I guess, games confused as far as mechanics go. So if I'm flying IL2, a lot of times I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I'm so used to playing War Thunder that I get, you know, things kind of confused when I have to kind of, for instance, change flaps or manage an engine or things like that. So I'm eventually going to have to pick between one of the two. Then I'm thinking it might be IL2 because I spent a good amount of money on it, and kind of got to justify spending that money. Or I can wait. I can wait because I waited for War Thunder. You know, a lot of that 7 years was me kind of going back, away from it because I was pissed off, because it's not something that you can just pick up and play like Call of Duty or something like that. Um, you have to know not just the plane that you're flying, but in order to kind of fly defensively or make sure that you don't get yourself put in a bad position when you're making a run on them, you have to understand, I guess, the nuances of the plane that you might be attacking as well. And that changes from match to match. So at some point, you start getting good over time because you begin to understand how to attack, or I shouldn't attack this, or I shouldn't be following bombers, you know, that type of thing. Um, so I do have time and experience and knowledge invested in War Thunder, but I'm not seeing stand with this thing forever, especially if they're going to be inconsistent, you know, with the way they do things, developer wise, um, development wise. So I don't know. It could be just me being anal, but I tend to kind of try and, you know, at least understand some of the decisions that the developers make, and I'm having a hard time just kind of trying to understand some of the recent decisions or the inconsistencies. So that's just me. Other people can overlook it. New folks tend to kind of overlook it because they're so focused on trying to learn the game. It's the veterans who normally leave after a while because they do notice those inconsistencies. You know, or you sit there and you have a game where you've been doing everything right, but for some reason you end up having 5 assists. Shit like that. No. So I don't know. Um, but we're going to go upstairs. I'm in the basement right now, and it is Father's Day, so I have to interact with my people. All right, so I'll probably be back on later.